Number 10. Brew. Brew is a unique mutant because of his alien heritage. He is part brood, part mutant. Brew was born with a mutation that allows him to feel compassion. So you might think that being born with compassion should not be considered a mutation or a superpower, but for the brood race, it is. They do not normally feel such things, making them a devastatingly dangerous race when it comes to warfare. Being born with such abnormalities often results in the death of the mutated newborn, but because the population of the brood was so low at the time, the brood queen actually allowed Brood to live, though he was abandoned, sadly. While his mutant ability might not seem strong in the conventional way, it makes him remarkably unique. Add in his genius intellect and you have both a fascinating and powerful mutant. Number 9. Aaliyah Bishop. Aaliyah is the daughter of Mutant Bishop from the alternate reality of Earth 41001. In that reality, Bishop and the Shi'ar Deathbird fell in love and had a child together, and this child was Aaliyah. We first meet Aaliyah in the comics traveling around space on the Starjammer spaceship. While she is mutant, we have yet to see her mutant abilities appear in the comics. However, based on what we know of generational mutant families, it can be assumed that her powers would be in the same wheelhouse as her father's and probably be similar to his, involving some kind of energy absorption or manipulation. Regardless, even without her mutant powers, she is fairly deadly, exhibiting skills in both armed and unarmed combat. Aaliyah is a skilled fighter, something she likely inherited from both of her parents. Number 8. Zakan. Zakan is part of Kadra K, a group of Skrull mutants similar to the X-Men. Skrull mutants who fight for mutant rights and equality with the same dream as Charles Xavier. In fact, they've even fought with Charles Xavier before. Zakan is therefore not just a shapeshifter, but also possesses the mutant power of telepathy and telekinesis. She can use her mutant powers to control minds, erase memories, create illusions, and in dire situations, move objects. When she touched Rogue, it was shown that her telepathic powers were so great that she inadvertently boosted Rogue's ability to absorb memories, amplifying and mutating it.
Number 7. Omni-Man. Oh, Invincible. What a ride. The Omni-Man is a slight Superman deconstruction who first debuted in Invincible number 1 in 2003. This series was helmed by Robert Kirkman, who more people will know for his Walking Dead comic series. The Omni-Man is the father of the main character, the hero Invincible, and one of the premier heroes of Earth, some would say the most mighty. He is a member of the Viltrumite race and claimed to have come to help better mankind, as was allegedly the creed of his species. He possessed superhuman strength, speed, flight, and immortality, or near immortality. However, here's the thing, it was a lie. He was on a mission of conquest. He was sent to lull the populace into a false sense of security and breed to produce an heir to help him in his conquest. The betrayal. It's the betrayal here that is scary. Of his family, of the planet. I just realized that for most people the planet should have come first, but I'm sticking with my order. When he reveals himself, he kills a lot of the world's superheroes. It's a close call driving him off world, and it changes the landscape of how that Earth views heroes and aliens specifically. Number 6. Goku. I feel so scandalous sneaking him on here. In my dream world, we'd talk about a lot more anime. Son Goku deserves to be on here though, as do most Saiyans. So Goku, raised on Earth. Goku is another one who was deposited so that he could conquer the planet for the Saiyans, and he was supposed to do this as a child. He used to transform into a giant ape back when he had a tail, but they cut it off, so it was fine. Then they had to cut off his son's tail. Goku has been on a lifelong quest to get as strong as possible. Now while Goku is a pretty nice, if absent-minded person and terrible husband, what's scary about him is the amount of villains he attracts to the planet. Now this is a bit of the Batman argument of if he wasn't there, would there be as many villains? I mean, some of them are just coming to conquer the Earth, as you do, but others are drawn there by his power level or stories about the other people he's fought. Collateral damage is scary, people. Don't let Man of Steel fool you. Although, Goku does make the effort to fight away from other people. Unlike Snyderverse Superman. Okay, snark over. It's been years, I know. Anyway, more anime. Give a like and we can make it happen. Number 5. The Silver Surfer. Try and forget about Kelly's hate for the Fantastic Four sequel film for a moment, and embrace all that is the comic book character of Norrin Radd. The Silver Surfer first debuted in the Fantastic Four number 48 in 1966, and initially he was a villain, a herald to Galactus, Eater of Worlds. And he has a surfboard because Jack Kirby was tired of drawing spaceships. Now the Silver Surfer wields the power cosmic, so he's extremely powerful because he can absorb and manipulate the universe's ambient energy. He can navigate through space and time. The Silver Surfer is scary not only because of the immense amount of power he has at his disposal and how threatening it is when it is unleashed against the Earth, but again because the events he's involved in are unfolding on such a massive scale that when he fails, the events and repercussions are catastrophic. You know who didn't prevent Thanos from gathering all the Infinity Gems? The Silver Surfer. Thanks a lot, Norrin. Of course he helped fix all that. Mostly he's a wanderer who does his best to help out. well-intentioned, but sometimes it just all goes awry. Number 4, Captain Marvel, or rather, Marvel, the first one. But in my heart, still not the real Captain Marvel. I don't care how many lawsuits he's lost, it'll always be Billy Batson for me. So, Captain Marvel is an undercover Kree operative. He first debuted in Marvel Superheroes number 12 back in 1967. He actually has the name because Marvel was trying to cash in on Fawcett Comics' lapsed trademark and their bankruptcy at the hands of DC over their Captain Marvel vs. Superman lawsuit. Lawsuits everywhere. So Captain Marvel was swayed to the side of the Earth by our incredible charm and magnetism, and because Yon-Rogg, his superior, was a jerk, Marvel ends up being found guilty of treason, and it's a whole thing. The fear here lies more in the what could have happened category. We need a what if. Oh wait, we have one. This tale comes to us from What If Volume 1 number 17, entitled What If Ghost Rider, Spider-Woman, and Captain Marvel had remained villains? Just kind of rolls off the tongue, doesn't it? In this tale, Yon-Rogg botches his attempt to mess with Marvel and is arrested, so Marvel is promoted to Colonel and goes ahead full force with the humans are no threat, let's just turn their planet into a war zone. See? It's a good thing Yon-Rogg was a jerk. He saved us all. Number 3, Maxima. Oh Maxima, let's take a trip down awkward story arc memory lane. Maxima first debuted in Action Comics number 645. She was a princess from the planet Almanac who came to Earth and took up a role as a superhero so that she could meet superpowered men, specifically Superman. Her species was all about selective breeding and creating the finest specimens. Maxima tells Clark, and I quote, she could give him what no Earthwoman could, children. This was during the whole no woman could withstand his potency time period. There's an Elseworld story where Lois's baby kills her from the womb and then Superman marries Maxima. Side note, the killing from the womb thing is a big plot point from The Boys, which I'm so excited for. Me and the boys. So when Superman won't sleep with her, she joins the Superman Revenge Squad because he humiliated her. The New 52 did not help, retconning her to be a young lady wrestling with her latent homosexuality and falling in love with Supergirl, only to flee because it was her duty to produce children. It sounds better, but it wasn't, trust me. Then in Rebirth, she was a person pretending to be the real Maxima. So this was someone who had her pre-New 52 personality, but was really taking over for the one with the New 52 origin. Just some characters don't need to come back. What's scary here is the pettiness. Just superpowered beings turning on a whim, especially ones with psionic abilities like Maxima. You just expect a bit more from your superpowered beings. Here's the thing, unpopular opinion time, and I have many. Maxima, like original Maxima, could have been a good character, thirstiness and all. This could have been done well, it just would have taken a bit more nuanced writing than ultimately happened. And she would have had to have had an arc where she either just embraced that she was thirsty, or she dealt with her low self-esteem and decided to step out of other people's shadows. I'd have read it. I still would read it. Number 2, Superman. Of course you knew Superman would be on this list. The concept of the Man of Steel turning against his adopted home and people are rampant. The evil Superman storyline is a classic and played out in so many ways. He's an overlord and always has been. He was raised somewhere else and twisted to different values, or just the plain old Lex approach. He stunts our growth as a species by existing. Now, personally, I prefer a beacon of hope Superman, but these dark tales can be intriguing and bring up elements of fear in layers. All of these evil Superman stories speak to a twisting of a trope, but also to humans' innate belief that nothing can truly be good, that latent fear that if something is too good to be true, it probably is. On top of that, there's your standard fears, his massive amount of power being turned around to subjugate, or just the betrayal of trust that is possible, a concept played with earlier on this list by Omni-Man. For some, the very concept of Superman is scary in general, whether he is good or not. Just the no man should have that much power, he needs to be controlled, or at least be able to be neutralized, so the Batman approach. Look, up in the sky, a ticking time bomb. I think most of you are just like, he's not number 1? What is happening? Well, that's because in at number 1, Martian Manhunter. The Martian Manhunter first debuted in Detective Comics number 225 in 1955, but there's a lot about his first origin that would be retconned, such as how he got to Earth in the first place. What has remained for sure is his adopted name of John Jones and living among us in secret, as well as of course joining the Justice League. So basically, they're already here. That's the fear here, aliens living among us. And then let's add the immense amounts of power to that list. I already listed them for Miss Martian, I'm not doing it again. Although, we must note that he is more skilled and has had more practice. John Jones is an interesting character, even more so after the 1988 miniseries that established a bunch more backstory for him. His natural form, his dead family, his language, he's evolved a lot over time. But being a good character doesn't make you any less of a scary one. The ties connecting John to Earth had best not break, because if so, there's nothing to stop him from from turning on all of us, or just flat out leaving. I mean, that'll probably never happen, but I sure hope not. I mean, he links all the superheroes' minds together during missions, that's helpful. He provides cookies, that's also helpful. I feel like I'm channeling my inner Lex with this number, only one with a lot less resources, sadly.
Number 10. Scar. First appearing in World War Hulk number 5, Scar is the child of Kara, the Old Strong, and the Hulk. Conceived during the Hulk's time on the planet Sakaar, Scar is a powerful warrior who was banished to Earth after he refused to try and save his planet from Galactus. Upon his arrival on Earth, he battled the Fantastic Four and She-Hulk until the fight was interrupted by a bombing sent by Norman Osborn. While under the tutelage of his father, he also managed to defeat the Juggernaut by throwing him into space. In addition to these Hulk-like powers, Scar also possesses the Old Power, an ability that allows him to control the Earth elements of his home planet, such as stone and lava. What separates Scar from his father is his ability to use his brain as well as his brawn, something the Hulk is only periodically able to achieve. Number 9. Brainiac. Brainiac is a complicated villain whose goals change depending on which version of the character you're looking at. Originally, he was an alien whose goal was to kidnap cities so that he could repopulate his home planet, but this was eventually retconned so that he was trying to collect as much knowledge as he could so that he could become the smartest being in the universe. Part of how he achieves this is to go from planet to planet in his skull-shaped ship so that he can steal a city, which he then puts in a bottle for further study before sabotaging that planet's sun so that the planet will be destroyed, making him the sole owner of the information. He has assembled a massive collection of bottle cities, showing just how many planets he has been able to destroy without opposition. Sure, he often gets beaten by Superman, but it's Superman. There's no shame in losing to him. Number 8. Starfire. A Tamaran princess who was held prisoner for years by an interplanetary empire known as the Citadel, Coriander eventually escaped to Earth, where she met and later joined the Teen Titans, becoming one of their most iconic members. In addition to rather common powers such as flight and super strength, Starfire has the ability to absorb various forms of radiation and convert them into energy, such as in Superman number 683 when she absorbed solar radiation in order to weaken a group of rogue Kryptonians. Her most iconic power is her ability to fire star bolts, which are destructive solar energy blasts. In extreme circumstances, she has also been shown to be able to use all of her stored energy to unleash a nova blast with the same power and heat as the sun. As a cherry on top, she's also able to learn languages by making physical contact with someone who speaks that language, as Dick Grayson was delighted to learn in New Teen Titans number 2, when Starfire learned English by giving him a big old smooch.
Number 7. Ultra Girl. Ultra Girl is Susanna of the Kree, or Susanna Sherman on Earth. They're spelled differently, but they sound the same. Much of her past remains a mystery. She is adopted and was raised on Earth, though the Kree kept an eye on her, as she was prophesied to bring great glory to the Kree Empire by defeating some of their greatest enemies. At least some of the greatest enemies of the pink-skinned Kree. In her own self-titled miniseries, Ultra Girl discovered that she was a mutant when a Sentinel attacked her, although at the time her powers had not yet manifested. Of her superpowers, we know that she possesses super strength, super speed, enhanced durability and agility. She also possesses a fairly strong healing factor, and like most part Kree superheroes, she can fly. Although oddly enough, flight is not a part of the inherent Kree physiology. So why so many half Kree can fly? I don't know. Number 6. Abigail Brand. We don't know where her father was from or who her mother is, but what we do know is that Abigail Brand is half alien, half human, and a mutant to boot, which she gets from her mother's side. She is known for being the tough, no-nonsense head of SWORD, an area of S.H.I.E.L.D. that is known for focusing on guarding the Earth against extraterrestrial threats. Her mutant power grants her the ability of pyrokinesis. She can heat up her hands and make contact with beings or materials, burning them or even burning through them. She can also control the level of heat that she emits. Her alien heritage also gives her a tongue that allows her to be able to speak alien languages that humans cannot. Number 5. Adam X. Adam X originally worked for Martin Strong, who gave him his name, as a hound rounding up mutants. A bloodhound. He is from Shi'ar, but lost his memories about his past at some point during his time on Earth. In working for Strong, he found himself in conflict with the X-Force, who eventually convinced him to join them in taking Strong down and using his powers to defend mutants as opposed to track and catch them. Adam X's mutant powers allow him to electrically charge blood, causing his enemies to fry from the inside out. Ugh. He also has enhanced physiology due to him being a member of the Shi'ar race. Number 4. Lifeguard. Heather Cameron is half Shi'ar, half human, and all mutant. She first appeared in Extreme X-Men Volume 1, which is also the series wherein she learned of her Shi'ar heritage. Heather is originally from Australia, where she worked as a lifeguard. Her mutant powers grant her a sort of spidey sense and the powers needed to do something about that danger sense. When her life or another's is in danger, she senses it and is granted the powers needed to save that life. These powers also come with the knowledge of how to use them, so although she might not have experience with that power set, this will not hinder Lifeguard. Her codename is obviously both a nod to her profession and her power set. Her brother Davis, aka Slipstream, is also a mutant, but he was depowered following M-Day, whereas Heather was not. Still, we don't really know what she's up to now. Where did she go? Will she appear in Dawn of X? Number 3. Dupe. One of the most ridiculous and mysterious mutants, Dupe's origins are shrouded in mystery. It has been suggested that he was artificially created in a lab, or that he has either magical or cosmic origins, hailing from an alien planet or perhaps another dimension entirely. For our purpose, we are going to run with the mysterious alien heritage angle, which is plausible considering he is only able to speak in his own alien tongue. Despite not knowing what potential alien race he could belong to, we do know a lot about his power set. Dupe has the powers of resurrection, flight, has a genius intellect, can alter his size, and is capable of emitting psionic blasts. He has also shown that he is capable of using magic and breaking the fourth wall. In fact, his seeming awareness that he exists in comics allows him to also be a powerful teleporter. He can travel through space and time by moving between the margins within comics. I know, it's cool. It's a cool ability. Number 2. Sponge. Sponge is another member of the Cadre K, the Skrull mutant version of the X-Men. His powers allow him to absorb energy. He can then rechannel said energy through his body, using it to make him durable or blasting it back at his targets with concussive force. Beyond that, his powers also seem to let him absorb skills and talents as well when connected to other Skrull mutants via the member of the Cadre K Neuro, who can tap into and link the nervous systems of his teammates through touch. So we really are talking about all kinds of crazy types of energy absorption when we're talking about Sponge. Like, it's cool if you're not a pilot and you can be like, now I know how to pilot a ship. I don't know why I did a weird voice for that. That's probably not what Sponge sounds like. But maybe it is, who knows. Number 1. Gaia. First appearing in Generation X Volume 1 Issue 37, she was found in an alternate reality in the Citadel of the Universal Amalgamator at the end of time, which was created with the intent of smooshing together all sentient beings' consciousness. Gaia was both its guardian and its prisoner, the key to activating the Amalgamator and the protector of it, defending it against it being used by evil beings. Gaia was saved by Sync and Penance and traveled through a secret warp chamber hidden in the Citadel, which coincidentally led back to their own reality. We do not know of her origins, if she was fully human or from another planet, but her galaxy was apparently destroyed as the result of her refusing to activate the Amalgamator. So sounds like she's probably alien. Gaia's powers allow her to warp reality using extra-dimensional matter and energy, making her immortal, super durable, super strong, and giving her telepathic and telekinetic abilities. She spent some time as a student at Xavier's School for Gifted Youngsters, but eventually left to explore and experience Earth.
And at number 10, Ebony Maw. Starting off our list is a character who could bring a civilization to its feet not by using physical strength, but by using his massive intellect and cunning. Ebony Maw first appeared in the comics in New Avengers issue 8 in 2013, with a full appearance in Infinity issue 1 that came out that same month. He is one of Thanos' Black Order, who has a genius level intellect, telepathy, telekinesis, flight, and mind control powers. That latter ability can be used in severely deadly ways, especially if Maw is able to infiltrate a planet. He has used his abilities to manipulate and control Doctor Strange in the comics, which we also saw loosely adapted in Avengers Infinity War, except in the comics it is significantly worse. Maw uses Strange as a double agent for him within the Illuminati, which he then takes advantage of to find Thanos' son, Thane, who is in a hidden inhuman city, and then makes Strange forget the location altogether. He is often described as a black tongue that spreads mischief and evil wherever he goes. Up next, number 9, Annihilus. First appearing in Fantastic Four Annual issue 6 from 1968, Annihilus is a Marvel villain created by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby, who is most well known for the Annihilation storyline. He's known as the living death that walks, and has superhuman strength, speed, stamina, agility, and reflexes, an exoskeleton that makes him even more durable, he can fly, and he wields a cosmic control rod, which allows for molecular manipulation, a slowed down aging process, and energy blast. He is the ruler of the negative zone and has attempted to invade Earth on multiple occasions. situations, with the Fantastic Four usually putting an end to his evil plans. Moving on to number 8, Lobo. In contrast to our last number, Lobo is a violent and brutal individual whose name literally translates into "he who devours your entrails and thoroughly enjoys it." And that he does. Lobo, an alien who hails from a planet called Sarnia, once committed mass genocide on his home world just for kicks, exterminating them all by, get this, unleashing a violent plague of flying scorpions. At least he's creative. He's got an impressive skill set as well, which includes immortality, regeneration, a red power ring, superhuman senses, strength, speed, stamina, and durability, and a genius level intellect to boot. Funny enough, he is very protective of space dolphins and has a bulldog named Dog, so at least he cares about some form of life. Lobo is the kind of character who might not be able to wipe out the entire planet in one go, but with his drive for destruction and chaos, and his ability to regenerate from a molecular level, if he puts his mind to it, he could very well commit genocide again if he so chooses.
Number 7, Omni-Man. A superhero from the planet Voltrum, Omni-Man went to Earth claiming that he had been sent to help protect the planet. He operated as a superhero for years before eventually revealing that he had really been sent to infiltrate the planet in order to prepare it for a Voltrumite invasion. The most powerful super being on Earth, Omni-Man is nearly invincible, possessing super strength, speed, and the ability to fly, as well as heightened senses. Although very clearly a riff on Superman, he does not possess the Man of Steel's heat or X-ray vision. When he betrayed the Guardians of the Globe, he was able to handily defeat them. He's an interesting character to try and slot, because he is not as powerful as many of the other characters on this list, but in the universe he inhabits, he is the strongest character on many planets. So, despite being nearly unbeatable in his universe, he still ranks pretty low on this specific list when compared to other heroes. Number 6, Martian Manhunter. An alien space cop, John Jones was born on the planet Mars, where he lived with his wife and daughter. This idyllic life came to an end when John's evil twin created a virus that made Martians burst into flame when they used their psychic powers. When a scientist on Earth attempted to make contact with Mars with the use of a transmitter, it instead transported John to Earth, where he became the hero Martian Manhunter. Like all Martians in the DC universe, Martian Manhunter is able to shift and take on the identity of anyone he chooses. He can also use this ability to form into weapons, so long as they do not have any intricate moving parts. He can choose to render himself invisible by taking away his cell's ability to reflect light, and is able to phase through objects at will. He has other more standard powers such as strength, speed, enhanced senses, and flight, but what makes Martian Manhunter such a force to be reckoned with are his telepathic powers. As Earth's most powerful telepath, John is able to read and control minds, as well as cause his subjects to see illusions or forget things he doesn't want them to remember. For years, John's weakness was a vulnerability to fire, which caused him to lose his powers. This weakness was mostly psychosomatic, and he has since overcome it, making him even more unstoppable. Number 5, Darkseid. After the old gods died, in a battle against evil, the planets New Genesis and Apocalypse were born. The latter fell under the control of an evil and tyrannical new god called Darkseid. New Genesis housed the source of all life, the life equation, and Darkseid became obsessed with finding its opposite force, the anti-life equation. He discovered that the anti-life equation was on the planet Earth, and began a campaign to conquer the planet, bringing him into constant conflict with the members of the Justice League, particularly Superman. He is all but immortal, invulnerable, and super strong. As if that wasn't bad enough, he is an incredible tactician with a keen scientific mind who has telepathic powers and the ability to shoot omega beams from his eyes, which he can use to either destroy or teleport his victims, such as when he sent Batman back to the cavemen times at the end of Final Crisis, essentially turning the Dark Knight into a temporal bomb. Even Superman has trouble going toe-to-toe with this new god, whose only weakness is a substance called radium. Number 4, Thor. Despite being considered a god in the standard Norse mythology, in the Marvel universe, Thor Odinson hails from the pocket dimension of Asgard before he came to Earth and was worshipped as a god by its people. So, he's an alien in all but name. In an effort to teach him humility, his father took away his memories of godhood and sent him to Earth as a physically disabled doctor named Donald Blake. Once he regained his memory, he became a superhero on Earth and helped form the Avengers. In addition to his godly strength, stamina, and speed, Thor is nearly invulnerable and has the ability to control elements of storms, such as lightning. Although he is usually shown doing this with his magical hammer Mjolnir, he is capable of controlling these elements without it. He is also able to use his hammer to fly by spinning it really fast and throwing it while holding on to its thong, as in its leather strap, not well, you know. All of this, in addition to his thousands of years of battle experience, makes Thor one of the most powerful beings in the Marvel Universe, who's almost undefeatable for all but the strongest foes. Number 3. Thanos. Thanos was born on the moon of Titan and had the deviant gene, which gave him thick purple skin as well as superior strength and heightened powers. He fell in love with a woman who turned out to be Death, and dedicated his life to impressing her by destroying as many living things as possible. Thanos has conquered countless worlds in his quest to impress Death, and is responsible for unleashing unspeakable horrors upon them. For instance, when he conquers a world, it is not uncommon for him to demand a tribute of the heads of everyone from the ages of 16 to 22. This insane demand is part of his plan to fulfill a request from Death to rid the universe of any of his offspring, and rather than put in the time to find out who and where his children are, he chooses to save time by implementing this method. As he is pretty much unstoppable for anyone but the most powerful superheroes, most planets are forced to go along with his insane demands. In his most iconic moment, he came up with a plan to acquire the Infinity Gems and wipe out half of all life in the universe in order to impress his love. Unlike many other evildoers who make these elaborate evil plans and then fail, Thanos actually pulled this off, getting all the gems and using the Infinity Gauntlet to enact his deadly romantic gesture. This is obviously the most famous example of him winning, but he has had quite a few other victories over the years, conquering countless planets with no one seeming to be able to stand up to him. Also, there's the infamous Thanos wins story, where he has conquered the universe at the end of time. So he is very difficult to stand up to. Plus, he has the best personal themed helicopter this side of the Batcopter. Number 2. Superman. Well, as if a list of powerful aliens wouldn't include Superman. The last survivor of the doomed planet Krypton, Kal-El was sent to Earth on a rocket ship where he landed in Smallville, USA. He was found by Jonathan and Martha Kent, who raised him as their own and taught him to control his powers and use them as a force for good. Superman is the most powerful alien superhero, with a grab bag of powers that make most of the other heroes on this list look downright weak. In addition to super strength, super speed, flight, heat vision, ice breath, and X-ray vision, Superman is also invulnerable, except for a weakness to kryptonite and a vulnerability to magic. And yes, those are two different things. He's had additional powers over the years, but many of these were retconned to make him a little bit less OP, much to the chagrin of fans of his super ventriloquism and the ability to shoot a smaller version of himself out of his hand. Number 1. The Silver Surfer. Once a normal inhabitant of the planet Zen-La, Norrin Radd made a deal with the planet-eating Galactus to become his herald in exchange for the cosmic being sparing Radd's planet. Galactus granted Norrin a fraction of his cosmic power, transforming him into the Silver Surfer. It became the Surfer's job to travel the universe, searching for planets that Galactus could devour. The Silver Surfer served Galactus for nearly a century before eventually turning on him and becoming a hero in Fantastic Four number 49. One of the most powerful beings in the Marvel Universe, the Surfer is able to absorb and manipulate huge amounts of energy, granting him the ability to easily destroy planets. He has been shown to use his energy manipulation powers to give himself seemingly limitless strength and to manipulate matter, such as in Silver Surfer Volume 3 number 96, when he turned solid matter into gas. He is also nearly invulnerable and can change the size of objects, making himself shrink to a subatomic size in Fantastic Four number 75. He has also been shown to be capable of teleportation, telekinesis, intangibility, and astral projection. He can also heal others, even when they are on the brink of death. And people say Superman's overpowered.
Number 10. Superboy Prime. So what's scarier than Superboy Prime is the effect he has had on the multiverse, alongside the unchecked power of a bitter, jaded Superman. So this character first appeared in DC Comics Presents number 87 back in 1985. This character was from a world in the multiverse known as Earth Prime, hence the prime at the end of his name. This world was much like ours, as their superheroes were fictional characters, and the Clark Kent there was just a regular boy. He has happened to share the same name as Superman. All of this changes when Halley's Comet flies overhead on his 15th Halloween, activating Kryptonian powers. However, shortly after all this, Superboy's home Earth is destroyed in Crisis on Infinite Earths. Superboy Prime survives, along with a couple of other cast-offs from various now defunct Earths in the Paradise dimension. However, it is here he slowly goes insane, using the resources available, which are crystals, making up their adrift home, to replay events from his prime Earth over and over, until one day he snaps. Trapped without a planet and with no potential to be the hero he was intended to become, he begins punching the walls, which are actually the walls of reality, which was used to retcon some DC events. Basically big events they wanted to undo. This is why Jason Todd came back to life, and also tweaked some origins and combined them for other characters. After this, he became a villain bent on finding purpose in some way. He is angry, bitter, self-absorbed, and with all the powers of Superman. He sometimes comes across as lame in how he's written, but the core concept, definitely scary. Number 9. Miss Martian. She's a recent hero. She debuted in Teen Titans number 37 back in 2006, and was a key part of the Young Justice animated series. She was created because Jeff Johns, who was writing the Teen Titans comic series, was informed he couldn't use Supergirl. Miss Martian is a white Martian. There are two types of Martians in the DC universe, and there is a civil war. Now, her white Martian status is often a cause of conflict for her, and is part of her quest for acceptance for herself, and it's also a pretty terrifying form. However, that's not where the fear comes from for this list. This is the whole, what if she goes rogue? The Martians are so powerful. Let me go down a list of abilities. Get ready. Super strength, durability, flight, super speed, stamina, regeneration, shapeshifting, phasing abilities, telepathy, psionic blasts, and shields, telekinesis, sonic scream, and X-ray vision. Also, in her Young Justice incarnation, she was initially shown to not have many moral qualms, but quite aggressively using her powers on foes and eventually friends. Telepathy is a tricky beast. I don't know, people are always going on about fighting an evil version of Superman. I don't want to have to fight an evil version of Miss Martian. Number 8. Starfire. Starfire first debuted in DC Comics Presents number 26 in 1980 and was a staple member of the new Teen Titans. A princess from the planet Tamaran, Coriander was betrayed by her own sister, Blackfire. Well, actually their whole planet was. She sold them out to their enemy, the Citadel, and part of that agreement was for her to be able to enslave Starfire. There was a whole horrifying backstory on top of that, but ultimately Starfire escaped and came to Earth. She kissed Robin to learn our language, the whole 9 yards. So where is the fear? Well, while Starfire is powerful, as she is constantly absorbing ultraviolet radiation, can fly, and can generate starbolts as a result of experiments performed on her, and is stronger than average, what is really scary is her attitude. The Tamaranians are a warrior race, through and through, and as a royal, Starfire has a particularly vicious streak. She has come into conflict with the Titans on occasion because of her lack of compassion and willingness to kill. Really, she's just kind of going along with our morality. She operates by a different code. Ask Deathstroke's wife. Oh wait, you can't, because Starfire Mercy killed her.
And at number 7, Silver Surfer. Silver Surfer is one of Marvel Comics' biggest cosmic characters. Initially a villain of sorts, working as Galactus' herald, Silver Surfer, who was previously known as Norrin Rad, came from a planet called Zenla. He made a bargain with the Devourer of Worlds. Leave Zenla and his people alone and he would work for him, traveling across the universe to find planets for Galactus to consume. Often he is a character that readers forget is actually an alien rather than just some sort of cosmic entity, a mistake that is typically made thanks to his powers, and the fact that he was imbued with the power cosmic by Galactus. Can you imagine a force like Silver Surfer cooperating with the government? I mean, not likely, because it would be hard to, imagine something like that actually existing without further implications, but it is still a pretty cool thought. And at 6, Meek. Meek was never really a big character in the comics, but really made an impression on fans thanks to his appearance and adaptation in Thor Ragnarok. And to be fair, the movie did take some liberties, turning Meek into more of a larva creature rather than his comic book iteration, which was a humanoid roach. Kinda makes sense why they did that. Regardless, he's the kind of alien we'd expect to see hanging out in Area 51. First appearing in The Incredible Hulk Volume 1, Issue 92 in 2006, he was introduced in the famous Planet Hulk storyline as a member of the planet Sakar's race of insectoids. Native race, might I add. He would accompany Hulk back to Earth, pledging to aid him in a quest of vengeance against those who had exiled the big green monster. But by The Incredible Hulk issue 625, Meek was perceived to have fallen to his death after betraying Hulk, having made an agreement to save his own people if he could obtain Hulk as a sacrifice. Hulk would also chop off one of his arms in their final battle, which is pretty gruesome. Moving on to number 5, Crypto, the super dog. An alien dog? Yeah, that sounds exactly like the kind of thing that would find itself inside of Area 51, if Area 51 is filled with aliens. Could just be an airbase, just saying. While Crypto the super dog looks like a regular old pup in a cape, he is anything but. He was first introduced in Adventure Comics issue 210 in 1955, shortly after the Comics Code Authority was introduced, and the need to make the Man of Steel look more appealing as a family figure arose, thanks to criticisms initiated about the character and his fellow DC peers by Frederick Wortham in his book Seduction of the Innocent. Make Superman a family man and give him a dog. That'll normalize him, right? Crypto was introduced as toddler Kal-El's dog when they were on Krypton together, and was sent to Earth when his father was testing out prototypes for the rocket that would inevitably be used to send Kal-El to Earth. Crypto's rocket, of course, was knocked off course, explaining why he only arrived on the planet years after Superman did, showing up when the hero was a teen. Later, his origins would be altered after the Crisis on Infinite Earth story arc, much like many other DC characters. Moving on to 4, Rocket Raccoon. Rocket Raccoon has a really interesting origin story in the comics. comics, one that could align with the ideas about Area 51 if you believe that it is an insidious facility conducting experiments on extraterrestrials, to each their own. So in the comics, Rocket is the guardian of the Keystone Quadrant, which is a section of space sealed off from the rest of the universe by something called the Glacian Wall. Rocket is the captain of his own ship, and he comes from a planet called Half-World in that quadrant, which is an abandoned colony for the mentally ill, where animals were genetically mutated to become companions for them, giving them human-level intelligence and bipedal body construction in order to act as caretakers. Rocket would go around protecting the colony from threats. He had also been a lab subject on the Strangers planet and escaped captivity there. These days he's doing much better roaming around with the Guardians of the Galaxy and his good pal Groot, who he had actually brought into the team as a member. Moving on to number 3, Martian Manhunter. Martian Manhunter, unlike some of the rest of the numbers on this list, is one of the most notable and recognized aliens in comics. Ja'on Jones first appeared in Detective Comics issue 225 in 1955, hailing from Mars in a story titled The Manhunter from Mars. That Silver Age story featured him as a green-skinned Martian who was pulled to Earth by a teleportation beam experiment. The scientist who accidentally brought him there to Earth dies of shock, leaving Ja'on stuck on the planet with no way home. So, what does the alien do? Well, he decides to fight crime with his Martian powers. Now, at this time in the DC universe, Mars was not suggested to be a dead planet yet, or that Ja'on was the last of his kind. Those narratives would come later in the Bronze Age. Being one of the original members of the Justice League, it wouldn't be surprising that if Ja'on Jones were real, we would probably get an iteration of him like what appears in the CW Supergirl show, in which Martian Manhunter works for the government, leading a team that deals with extraterrestrial threats. Moving on to number 2, Groot. Groot is arguably one of the most fascinating alien characters to exist in the comics. Perhaps this is thanks to his familiar physicality. He's essentially an extraterrestrial sentient tree. His first appearance didn't feature the character in the most noble light though, like he's seen today. Instead, he was an invader who wanted to capture human beings for experimentation. Yeah, awkward. That was back in Tales to Astonish issue 12 in 1960, but luckily for us in 2006, the character was brought out of obscurity in the 6-issue limited series Nick Fury's Howling Commandos, and later appeared in the Annihilation story arcs alongside Star-Lord. And then he was placed in the Guardians of the Galaxy, which would then be the basis for the MCU Guardians movies. Groot is part of a species called Flora Colossus, similar to J.R.R. Tolkien's Ents from Lord of the Rings. Alien Ents kinda seems like a thing that would maybe end up finding its way into a facility like Area 51, who knows. And finally, in our number 1 spot, Venom. Venom is yet another major Marvel alien who is often forgotten as being such. He is a member of the Clintar race, a sentient alien symbiote with an amorphous liquid-esque form that survives by bonding to a host, which in most cases in the comics is human. Now before he was known as Venom, the character first appeared as the alien costume in the Amazing Spider-Man issue 252 from 1984, in the aftermath of the first Secret Wars arc. Spider-Man would believe he was a black costume, but then began to learn the nefarious nature of the creature, and was then separated in time from the symbiote thanks to Reed Richards. It would return though, this time known as Venom, in Web of Spider-Man issue 18 from 1986 in a teaser, and then again in the Amazing Spider-Man issue 300 in 1988, this time bonding with Eddie Brock, a character who also had his own grudge against Spider-Man. And really, if Venom's arc with the Life Foundation in the comics, and his time with Flash Thompson has taught us anything, it is that the government and those with wealth can see how the Clintars make for a useful tool, despite being an incredibly dangerous one. Starting us off in at number 10, Superman. This would not be a true comic book alien list if we didn't include Kal-El himself, Superman, the OG alien superhero. Born on the planet Krypton, his parents would ship him off in a small rocket ship to Earth moments before Krypton would meet its impending destruction. The spaceship landed in the American countryside, and the baby was found by Jonathan and Martha Kent, who would name him Clark and raise him as their own. While his backstory and the story of Krypton have been altered and retconned ever so slightly over the years, for the most part at its core it has remained the same. Despite Superman being a shining symbol for patriotism, especially in the golden and silver ages of comic books, he is technically an illegal immigrant, an alien whose civilian alias poses as one of us. It's actually one of the things that makes him so great, and relatable too. But let's be real, it wouldn't be hard to imagine that if Superman did exist, and was found by someone other than the Kents, like in some of the alternate Superman stories that we've seen over the years, looking at you Superman Red Sun, the idea of him being placed within a government facility to be studied and primarily to be controlled wouldn't be a complete long shot. Moving on to another DC character in at 9, Starfire. Starfire is arguably one of DC's most well-known alien superheroes. Created by the iconic duo of George Perez and Marv Wolfman, Starfire, aka Coriander, first debuted in DC Comics Presents issue 26 in 1980 as a member of the Tamaranian race in the Vega system. She is a character who sometimes has found herself struggling to fit in with the human race, despite being one of the Teen Titans' most valuable members. Back when she was about to marry Dick Grayson, their nuptials were interrupted by an evil raven at the time, she was dealing with a lot of anti-alien sentiments that sprang up in response to their upcoming wedding. Considering her wide range of abilities thanks to her Tamaranian physiology, it wouldn't be all that shocking to see a cooperative alien the likes of Starfire working with the government, hanging out in a place like Area 51. But her sister Blackfire would be a whole other story on that front. No bueno. She's evil. And at 8, Matter Eater Lad. Matter Eater Lad often makes lists on our channel for how preposterous his powers are. He's a fellow who joined up with the Legion of Superheroes and can literally eat matter of all forms, even things that are near indestructible. This is something that all of the natives of his home planet can do. Now, if you're surprised to learn that he's actually an alien instead of a metahuman, you probably wouldn't be the only one to have that thought. Like I said, he is often talked about because of how silly he is. Anywho, Matter Eater Lad, whose real name is Tenzil Kem, first appeared in Adventure Comics 303, which was the issue he also broke down his origin story for us. He came from a planet called Bismol, in which the people there had found that microbes had made all of their food inedible, and therefore they evolved to eat all matter as a means of survival. So everyone on his home planet can do what he can do. Not much else is ever really revealed about his homeworld, but at one point his brother does show up and tries to take his place on the team. And it is implied that his family life growing up was rather rough for Matter Eater Lad. The one upside is that, since writers struggled to fit him into the Legion stories due to his absurd powers, he often was pulled into his home planet's politics thanks to his newfound fame on Earth. And he even became a senator there at one point. Not too shabby, dude. And at 7, Brainiac. Brainiac is a villain who first appeared in Action Comics issue 242 from 1958. He is an alien villain who is often considered Superman's second arch-enemy, next to Lex Luthor of course. Brainiac is capable of a whole lot of scary stuff. His cyborg body grants him superhuman strength, speed, stamina, longevity, and durability, and flight. He has a regenerative healing factor too. In addition to that, he's got superhuman intelligence, he's a technopath, he can project energy, take possession of other beings, can generate impenetrable force fields, and worst of all, he has vast psychic powers. These can include telepathy, telekinesis, mind control, and matter manipulation, although that has varied over the years. Thanks to DC's ever-changing and retconning of their own main continuity, several versions of Brainiac have popped up over the years, and in some versions of his story, he is actually responsible for the destruction of Krypton. Needless to say, he's got the abilities to bring down an entire civilization, especially if the likes of Superman wasn't around to protect Earth from his schemes. Moving on to number 6, the Supreme Intelligence. The Supreme Intelligence is yet another character whose intellect could bring down a civilization. So, the Supreme Intelligence, who first appeared in Fantastic Four issue 65 in 1967, is an artificial intelligence that rules over the Kree. It was created by the Kree as a supercomputer that consists of the greatest minds of their people over the last million years. A cybernetic and organic single collective intelligence that incorporates the disembodied brains of the greatest Kree individuals that have ever lived, and is preserved cryogenically. It has a seemingly immeasurable intellect with a vast knowledge that surpasses anything that we have on Earth. It is capable of cosmic awareness, telepathy, telekinesis, precognition, and postcognition. It can alter reality, manipulate matter and energy, and create up to 3 androids at any given time. So, needless to say, with a force like that leading the Kree, you can see why the Kree have been able to nearly wipe out other extraterrestrial races in the past. Moving on to number 5, Parallax. Parallax is a cosmic entity who could easily take over a planet and cause its destruction. Now, fear is Parallax's jam. It has massive fear-casting and mind control abilities that can take hold of the likes of Superman, Wonder Woman, and even Spectre. Only those who can conquer their inner fear completely are able to evade its grasp. Now, if someone feels the slightest bit of fear, Parallax can take possession of their body. It has no true physical form, generally transforming into a form that will instill its targets with fear. So imagine what abilities like that could do if Parallax wanted to see a world crumble. And no superheroes the likes of Green Lantern or Batman were around to prevent it from doing such. Yeah, that's scary. Up next, number 4, Null. Null is a literal god, an elder god to be exact, having existed prior to the Marvel multiverse as we know it. Null had enjoyed drifting through the endless void of space until the Celestials screwed that up for him, evolving the universe into what it is now. Null off, attempted to wage a war against them, decapitating one of the Celestials in the process, which caused him to be banished for eternity to the void. Null then used that decapitated head to forge the Clintar, the race of symbiotes that Venom belongs to, and then the severed head would eventually become Nowhere. Known as the god of the symbiotes, he has the ability to create, control, and manipulate an eldritch darkness, a manifestation of the Primordial void that existed before the universe itself, allowing him to create and dominate over the Clintar. He is responsible for the destruction and corruption of entire civilizations across the universe thanks to his symbiote army. And at number 3, Anti-Monitor. The pinnacle antagonist in the famous 1985 Crisis on Infinite Earths, this big DC bat has near limitless cosmic powers. He can manipulate matter and energy, warp reality, has super strength, durability, and longevity, and of course the real kicker here, he can absorb entire universes. So yeah, Anti-Monitor could easily wipe out the world if there was no opposition preventing him from doing so. The Anti-Monitor is responsible for the most deaths of characters out of all of DC's villains, and destroyed thousands of universes to boot. He literally devours the energies of universes. He is responsible for the elimination of the DC multiverse, restarting it into a simpler, more streamlined universe. So yeah, without a doubt, the giant retcon tool that is Anti-Monitor definitely deserves a spot on this list. Moving on to number 2, Thanos. Thanos is one of the more deserving villains on this list. He is an antagonist that, arguably, compared to our last number, worked hard to gain the ability to completely wipe out planets. Not condoning it, just saying. Thanos, the Mad Titan, was created by Jim Starlin and first appeared in the Invincible Iron Man issue 55 in 1973. He is a member of the extraterrestrial race called the Titanian Eternals, meaning he was born with superhuman abilities, although he would further increase them by means of bionic amplification, mysticism, and even some powers bestowed to him by his unrequited love, the entity Death. In both the comics and the MCU, Thanos hunts down the Infinity Gems, or stones, and once he's collected them all, has the power to do whatever he desires. He is omnipotent, and while he chose to wipe out half of all living things, if he preferred, he could have just obliterated the Earth or any other planet. Sans Gauntlet, though, we wouldn't put it past him to whip up a scheme to destroy the Earth by other means. He has conquered a bunch of different extraterrestrial races in the past. And finally, in at number 1, Galactus. The reason Galactus tops our list is because of his one sole purpose. Compared to every other antagonist on this list, his purpose is literally to consume planets. He is known as the Devourer of Worlds. He's one of the most likely characters to attempt to annihilate the Earth, but not out of a particularly evil reason. He is part of the universal balance of the cosmos, an unstoppable force of nature that keeps the universe in check. First appearing in Fantastic Four issue 48 in 1966, Galactus is the product of a mortal man merging with the sentience of the universe during the Big Crunch, gestating for billions of years before emerging as Galactus, who was endowed with the power cosmic. He awakens with an insatiable hunger and must feed on planets and their life force in order to survive. He eventually stumbles upon Earth with his herald, the Silver Surfer, and is stopped by the Fantastic Four from consuming the planet after Reed Richards gets his hand on the ultimate nullifier, a weapon, one of the only things in the universe that could waver Galactus' hunger and pose a threat to his existence, nullifying him, and possibly everything else. It frightens him enough to move on from Earth and consume a planet elsewhere. So, probably for the best.
Number 10, Ultra. 2 A's. This is also a callback to part 1 because he's tied to Maxima, the alien from the planet Almanac. And I said Almanac because I guess I really want there to be a planet of published annual events. I mean, that type of planet would definitely breed some thirsty people. So Ultra has a couple of different origins, pre and post Crisis, that being Crisis on Infinite Earths. There are multiple crises at this point, some less critical than others. Pre-Crisis, he was a Prime Earth hero and the first Superman. He first debuted in Justice League of America number 153 in 1978. Only he landed in the Australian outback. He would accompany the Justice League back to their Earth after deciding that Earth Prime was not ready for heroes. Remember, Earth Prime is ultimately where Superboy Prime hails from and is initially a world much like our own, in that it's mundane and no one has superpowers. Mostly because they keep leaving. Post-Crisis, he was retconned out of history like many other characters, which meant he could be reintroduced with a brand new backstory. This time he was also from Almanac alongside Maxima, and he just wanted her to notice him. Notice me, senpai. He's her betrothed, but he's not Superman. Heck, he's not even Captain Atom. That's who she was trying to convince to bed her when he showed up on Earth. Captain Atom? Maxima? Really? Come on now. Contain the thirst, or at least direct it. Captain Atom throws the fight, by the way. Embarrassing. Just embarrassing for all involved. Ultra was briefly reintroduced in the New 52 and faced off against the version we just mentioned. And since then, zilch, nada. You either get erased out of the timeline a hero or live long enough to see yourself become a thirst machine. Yeah, what's scary about Ultra is what a waste he was. We could have done something with an Australian Superman. Instead, he came to naught. Also, these heroes coming to Earth to fight over who sleeps with who. Stop it. The people will only tolerate collateral damage if it actually has to do with them. Number 9. Abigail Brand. Abigail Brand made her first appearance in the Astonishing X-Men number 6 in 2004, but she had a cameo in issue 3. She's the commanding officer of SWORD, the Sentient World Observation and Response Department. Now, she keeps her cards close to her chest, but we do know she's half alien and half mutant, and all extremely anal hardbutt. She's trying to prove herself 10 times over. Her abilities are pyrokinetic, which are always scary enough on their own, and she's got a whole organization behind her. She once killed an entire ship full of Skrulls solo. So no, I don't want to hear about how hot her Hydra hair is. She is a scary alien. Also, she's just uptight, so very uptight. She enters a scene and all the other characters tense up. You know the thing with that though, tightly wound people, sometimes they snap. I feel like Johnny and his overpowered superheroes that need to be stopped video. He was talking about them like they were coming around the corner. He's part of the neighborhood watch. Number 8. Mogo, the Living Planet. This character first debuted in Green Lantern Volume 2, number 188 in 1985. His first story was called Mogo Doesn't Socialize by beloved writer Alan Moore. Mogo is a living planet who had the desire to join the Corps, so it rearranged its foliage to create the symbol. Over time, Mogo has come to play more and more of a prominent role in the Corps, and more has been added to his backstory. So Mogo can move itself across the galaxy, just up and move. This giant planet traveling through space. It also controls its surface, so lanterns have dropped threats onto it and the landscape will rearrange to take them out. Also, it's not a great ride for lanterns who land on it either. Sometimes they experience visions. Kyle in particular had a rough go of it. However, all of the things Mogo does are sustained by the Green Lantern energy powering him. If that depletes, he falls into a comatose state. It also helps telepathically guide Green Lantern rings to their new wielders, so yeah, remember that villainous Corps, Sinestro. Just imagine being pursued by a giant cop planet. No thank you. A sentient planet hunting you down? Yeah, sounds scary to me, a mere mortal.
Number 7. Scar. First appearing in World War Hulk number 5, Scar is the child of Sierra the Old Strong and the Hulk, conceived during the Hulk's time on the planet Sakaar. Scar is a powerful warrior who was banished to Earth after he refused to try and save his planet from Galactus. Upon his arrival on Earth, he battled the Fantastic Four and She-Hulk until the fight was interrupted by Norman Osborn. While under the tutelage of his father, he also managed to defeat the Juggernaut by throwing him into space. In addition to these Hulk-like powers, Scar also possesses the Old Power, an ability that allows him to control the Earth elements of his home planet, such as stone and lava. What separates Scar from his father is his ability to use his brain as well as his brawn, something that the Hulk only periodically is able to achieve. Number 6. Starfire. A Tamaran princess who was held prisoner for years by an interplanetary empire known as the Citadel, Koriand'r eventually escaped to Earth where she met and later joined the Teen Titans, becoming one of their most iconic members. In addition to rather common powers such as flight and super strength, Starfire has the ability to absorb various forms of radiation and convert them into energy, such as in Superman number 683 when she absorbed solar radiation in order to weaken a group of rogue Kryptonians. Her most iconic power is her ability to fire star bolts, which are destructive solar energy blasts. In extreme circumstances, she's also been shown to be able to use all of her stored energy to unleash a nova blast with the same power and heat as the sun. As a cherry on top, she's able to learn languages by making physical contact with someone who speaks that language, as Dick Grayson was delighted to learn in New Teen Titans number 2 when Starfire learned English by giving him a big old smooch. Number 5. Martian Manhunter. Yet another alien space cop. John Jones was born on the planet Mars where he lived with his wife and daughter. This idyllic life came to an end when Jones's evil twin created a virus that made Martians burst into flame when they used their psychic powers. When a scientist on Earth attempted to make contact with Mars with the use of a transmitter, it instead transported John to Earth where he became the hero, Martian Manhunter. Like all Martians in the DC universe, Martian Manhunter is able to shapeshift and take on the identity of anyone he chooses. He can also use this ability to form into weapons, so long as they do not have any intricate moving parts. He can choose to render himself invisible by taking away his cell's ability to reflect light, and is able to phase through other objects at will. He has other more standard powers such as strength, speed, enhanced senses, and flight, but what makes Martian Manhunter such a powerful force to be reckoned with are his telepathic powers. As Earth's most powerful telepath, John is able to read and control minds, as well as cause his subjects to see illusions or forget things he doesn't want them to remember. John's weakness is a vulnerability to fire, which causes him to lose his powers. This weakness is mostly psychosomatic, but then seeing your family burst into flame would probably make you a bit uncomfortable around an open fire as well. Number 4. Omni-Man. A superhero from the planet Viltrum, Omni-Man went to Earth claiming that he had been sent to help protect the planet. He operated as a superhero for years before eventually revealing that he had really been sent to infiltrate the planet in order to prepare it for a Viltrumite invasion. The most powerful super being on Earth, Omni-Man is nearly invincible, possessing super strength, speed, and the ability to fly, as well as heightened senses. Although very clearly a riff on Superman, he does not possess the Man of Steel's heat or X-ray vision. When he he betrayed the Guardians of the Globe. He was able to handily defeat them, and given that each of the Guardians are clear stand-ins for other heroes on this list, Omni-Man takes the number 4 slot, leaving only the most powerful heroes above him. Number 3, Thor. Despite being considered a god in the standard Norse mythology, in the Marvel Universe, Thor Odinson hails from the pocket dimension of Asgard before he came to Earth and was worshipped as a god by its people. So he's an alien in all but name. In an effort to teach him humility, his father took away his memories of godhood and sent him to Earth as a physically disabled doctor named Donald Blake. Once he regained his memory, he became a superhero on Earth and helped form the Avengers. In addition to his godly strength, stamina, and speed, Thor is nearly invulnerable and has the ability to control elements of storms such as lightning. Although he is usually shown doing this with his magical hammer Mjolnir, he is capable of controlling these elements without it. He is also able to use his hammer to fly by spinning it really fast and throwing it while holding on to its thong, as in its leather strap, not All of this, in addition to his thousands of years of battle experience, makes Thor one of the most powerful beings in the Marvel Universe. Number 2, Superman. As if a list of most powerful alien superheroes wouldn't include Superman. The last survivor of the doomed planet Krypton, Kal-El was sent to Earth in a rocket ship where he landed in Smallville, USA. He was found by Jonathan and Martha Kent, who raised him as their own and taught him to control his powers and use them as a force for good. Superman is the most powerful alien superhero in the DC universe, with a grab bag of powers that make most of the other heroes on this list look downright weak. In addition to super strength, super speed, flight, heat vision, ice breath, and X-ray vision, Superman is also invulnerable, except for a weakness to kryptonite and a vulnerability to magic. He's had additional powers over the years, but many of these were retconned to make him a bit less overpowered, much to the chagrin of fans of his super ventriloquism and ability to shoot a smaller version of himself out of his hand. Number 1, the Silver Surfer. Once a normal inhabitant of the planet Zenla, Norrin Radd made a deal with the planet-eating Galactus to become his herald in exchange for the cosmic being sparing Radd's planet. Galactus granted Norrin a fraction of his cosmic power, transforming him into the Silver Surfer. It became the Surfer's job to travel the universe searching for planets that Galactus could devour. The Silver Surfer served Galactus for nearly a century before eventually turning on him and becoming a hero in Fantastic Four number 49. One of the most powerful beings in the Marvel Universe, the Surfer is able to absorb and manipulate huge amounts of energy, granting him the ability to easily destroy planets. He has been shown to use his energy manipulation powers to give himself seemingly limitless strength, and to manipulate matter, such as in Silver Surfer Volume 3, number 96, when he turns solid matter into gas. He is also nearly invulnerable and can change the size of objects, making himself shrink to a subatomic size in Fantastic Four number 75. He has also been shown to be capable of teleportation, telekinesis, intangibility, and astral projection. He can also heal others even when they are on the brink of death, and people say Superman's overpowered. Number 10, Hawkman and Hawkgirl. Coming in at the bottom of our list are Carter Hall and Shiera Sanders, better known as Hawkman and Hawkgirl. What puts them so low on this list is that they're only aliens sometimes. For instance, the Silver Age versions of the characters have them being from royalty from the planet Thanagar, who are members of the planet's police force known as the Hawk Police, who come to Earth and disguise themselves as humans so that they can fight crime. In other, more interesting and romantic versions, they are ancient Egyptian royalty who get reincarnated throughout time and come together in every lifetime to be together and fight crime. Regardless of which origin you go with, the powers granted to them by their hawk suits are always the same, giving them the ability to fly. Beyond that, their skills with various archaic weapons, as well as their martial arts training, makes them formidable combatants. Number 9, Gamora. The adopted daughter of Thanos, this green assassin is considered to be the most dangerous woman in the galaxy. She received expert training from Thanos, as well as surgical implants that made her an even more able assassin. She eventually betrayed Thanos and became a member of the Guardians of the Galaxy. Besides her considerable combat abilities, her mechanical implants grant her enhanced agility, speed, strength, and stamina. She is also more difficult to injure because of her enhanced durability and regenerative healing factor, which have allowed her to survive potentially lethal blows from characters like Ronan the Accuser. She briefly became even more powerful when she came into possession of the Infinity Stones enfolded the universe into the warp world, but this was a short-lived power boost. Number 8. Kilowog. Kilowog is the Bolovaxian drill sergeant of the Green Lantern Corps, as well as the Green Lantern of Sector 674. You might not guess it from his appearance, but Kilowog has a genius-level intellect, starting off as a gifted geneticist on his planet before joining the Green Lanterns. Kilowog is a highly respected trainer and recruiter in the Corps, who, due to his Bolovaxian physiology, has super strength, stamina, and durability. In addition to this, he of course has all the abilities that come with the Green Lantern ring, being able to create powerful constructs using the power of will. His willpower is so great that when his home planet was destroyed in Green Lantern Corps number 218, he was able to preserve the minds of all 16 billion inhabitants in his ring, allowing them to survive until Kilowog could find a suitable replacement planet.
Number 7. Hyperion. Now Hyperion can get a little confusing for some, so bear with me. So Hyperion has debuted multiple times, just like Superman upon whom he's based, only his origin changes. So let's talk about the most recent, Marcus Milton, who does take some cues from the earlier existing Mark Milton. Marcus Milton debuted in Avengers Volume 5 number 1 in 2012. Marcus was sent to Earth as a baby, the last of a race of dying Eternals. He is 100% just Superman. He protected his Earth alongside the Squadron Supreme, until he was pulled into 616 by AIM, which was good because Hyperion was the sole survivor of realities colliding and was just floating alone in the void. He later reforms the Squadron Supreme in the 616 verse with survivors from their realities, so other survivors of the Squadron from their own realities. They swear to protect Earth 616 by any means necessary, and they end up being worse than their villainous versions. Hyperion decapitates Namor with his atomic vision. Namor gets better though, but later Hyperion gets convinced to become a truck driver. So yeah, Hyperion, all that power and not a lot of stability. He's one bad day away from going full Plutonian on the world. As far as knockoff supes go though, Hyperion is one of the middling interesting ones. Number 6. The Wonder Twins. Form of a receptionist. Was that a Teen Titans Go joke? Yes it was. I like what I like, and a lot of that backlash was unearned and bitterness about the previous series cancellation. It's a satire series, not an attack on canon. And if you can't laugh at the Wonder Twins, then what can you laugh at? The Wonder Twins consist of alien twins Zan and Jaina, whose first appearance was in the animated realm in the all-new Super Friends Hour episode Joyride. They come from the planet Exor, and they were inspired by Donnie and Marie Osmond. The twins could activate their powers by fist bumping and saying, "Wonder Twin powers activate," followed by form of. Zan could transform into water in any state, while his sister Jaina could transform into animals. Any animal, real, mythological, alien, so yeah, she's carrying Zan. So of the two, power-wise, yeah, Jaina is way scarier. You round a corner, bam, T-Rex. You round a corner, bam, Goatman. You round a corner, bam, ice. However, what's more scary is people's insistence in bringing them up in modern iterations that aren't comedic. Look, some characters outlive their purpose, and the Wonder Twins definitely have. We have new hip young characters for the kids to like. Number 5. Lobo, the main man himself. So Lobo is definitely more on the anti-hero side of things, but it counts. Lobo first debuted in Omega Men number 3 back in 1983. He's a bounty hunter from the utopian planet Zarnia. So Lobo was actually supposed to be a parody for a bit, cause at first he was a villain and didn't really take off. Then he was brought back in the 90s and he was supposed to be a satire of the extreme grim grit and edge of that decade. But it backfired and fans just loved it. Also, Lobo used to look a lot more like Kiss than he does now. Lobo is said to be on a similar power level as Superman, and has much less of a moral compass. He also tends to just barge into situations, even ones that don't involve him, and tends not to have a lot of respect for the other heroes. For like 2 seconds in Brightest Day, he had a Red Lantern ring. So Lobo is just a lot of a lot. That's too much enthusiasm to be hunted down with. Now I can see the comments now. Lobo's not scary, he's cool. To which I say again, cool people can be scary. Fear everyone, constant vigilance. Number 4. Groot. Yes, Groot. Get that adorable dancing baby Groot out of your head and think of the tall, hulking tree. Groot first debuted in Tales to Astonish number 13 back in 1960, and his name literally means large. So yeah, I am Groot, I am large. Groot is a Flora Colossus from Planet X. Also, they have a language, it just sounds like I am Groot over and over to us. Aside from what you see in the MCU with the growth and the angry branches that snarl, curl, and throw, Groot can also control other plants and fauna. Also, he's very hard to kill because he'll just grow back. Groot Brood is great if he's on your side, but facing up against an angry tree, I've seen The Evil Dead. Number 3. Rocket Raccoon. I won't separate this dynamic duo. They can bring fear together. Again, I can hear the "aw, cute," but put the MCU aside and think of an actual raccoon with its arched back and its claws and its rage. Animals are our friends, but a healthy level of respect for the wild, please. Almost anything out there can tear your face off. Face off. Rocket Raccoon first debuted in Marvel Preview number 7 in 1976, and in that appearance he was called Rocky. It was only later revealed that that was short for Rocket. Now because these are comics, Rocket's inherent raccoon-like abilities are perceived as enhanced and amazing, agility, heightened senses, etc. But of course, what is the most dangerous is the intelligence and the weapons expertise. People tend not to worry so much about things that are cute, and certainly don't expect them to be building a gun sword. He is also a highly skilled tactician. Going up against Rocket in a fight, you better have a heavy arsenal of your own, and also don't be afraid of getting bitten. Plus he's got a team. Lots of times in these "oh no, they've gone rogue" stories, it's not just one person, it's the whole team. Speaking of teams, in at number 2, the Omega Men. This team first debuted in Green Lantern number 141 back in 1981. This team was a group of rebels who had gathered together to fight the oppression of the Citadelians, who are actually the alien race who did all those experiments on Starfire in Part 1 at the behest of her evil sister Blackfire. The Omega Men consist of Tigor, Brute, Elu, and Riander. This is the current roster. It was different people. Some died in the conflict, also I'm sorry if it's Riander. Now people bring the Omega Men back every now and again, most recently Tom King, whose quality varies wildly. So why are they so high up? I mean, especially people barely know who they are. Well, you know what that means. There's the opportunity to bring them back as full-blown villains, an evil alien menace. Comics do this a lot as an attempt to revamp and revitalize a story. Just bring the people back but flip them. If they were bad, now they're good, and vice versa. Number 1. The Plutonian. He hails from Mark Waid's series Irredeemable, which ran from April 2009 to May 2012, and it follows the descent, or rather the aftermath of the descent, of the titular hero, the Plutonian, a Superman-esque figure, and the fight of his former friends and teammates to stop him. What's so scary about the Plutonian is that his descent is so well executed, as it is slowly unveiled what went wrong and why he snapped and begun killing his former friends and innocents. It's chilling. What the story plays with really is super hearing. That's where it all starts. During past sequences, you see how the things he hears take a toll on him. People whispering behind his back even as they smile to his face that he's fake, that they hate him, that he was too slow, that he owes them something. Sometimes you see him crack a little bit even before. It all eats at him. And he begins to feel that he has to be perfect all the time. That if he messes up, he won't be given the same quarter as other people. And so when one day he does, and his actions, a careless mistake leads to the death of several children, he snaps. Because of what happened and because he caused so much suffering. He's there screaming about how it's not fair, everybody else gets to make mistakes, why not him? Why is he irredeemable? He then proceeds to make himself completely irredeemable, first in a bid to cover up what happened, and eventually just because he doesn't care anymore. Personally, I liked this series up until about the 3/4 mark. The solution, in my opinion, felt very backed into a cornery, but his descent is my favorite Superman descent into madness ever. It's just so profoundly sad and human. Not everyone could handle all that pressure, all that praise, and all that hate. It's a series worth reading. Check it out if you have the time.